I didn't mean to look at her that long. But the way her hand lingered on the rim of the glass, her fingers tracing the condensation as if she'd forgotten I was there, that held me still. She wasn't just my friend's mom in that moment. She was something else entirely, a woman who carried herself with grace, but in the quiet between her movements, I caught something heavier, something unsaid. Her living room was dim except for the lamp near the couch, casting a soft gold light over her face. She had just turned 45, though the way she held herself made her seem timeless, elegant, unhurried. There was a strength in her posture, but the faint curve of her shoulders betrayed a weariness she never spoke aloud. I sat across from her, trying not to stare. 23, nervous in ways I didn't want to admit, I kept shifting the glass in my hands as if that would disguise the pull I felt toward her. "Your friend should be back soon," she said, though her voice lacked conviction, like she knew her son wasn't coming back for a while. "Yeah," I answered, then nothing. Silence thickened between us. Her eyes lifted, catching mine, and for a beat too long, either of us looked away. She blinked first, dropping her gaze to her lap, smoothing the fabric of her dress in small, distracted motions. I didn't realize I'd leaned forward until my knees brushed the edge of the coffee table. She noticed the corner of her mouth tugging upward, a flicker of amusement, or maybe embarrassment. "You're staring," she said softly, not accusing, more like she was surprised. "I didn't mean to," I murmured. "It's just, you look." I stopped, the words catching in my throat. Too much, too honest. She tilted her head, waiting, but I left the sentence unfinished. Her hand shifted, brushing against mine as she reached for the glass. The touch was nothing, barely there, but it was enough to freeze me. Warmth spread up my arm, too fast, too sharp. She pulled back quickly, clearing her throat. "Sorry." I shook my head, almost laughing at the absurdity of apologizing for something I wanted her to do again. The air felt heavier now. I could hear the faint ticking of the clock in the hall, the hum of the refrigerator. Every sound outside this room felt too far away, as if the world had narrowed to just the space between her and me. She spoke again, voice quieter this time. "It's been years since anyone." She stopped herself, pressing her lips together. But the silence that followed was more revealing than if she'd finished the thought. I leaned in, before I could stop myself. "Since anyone what?" Her eyes flicked up to mine, sharp, searching, then softened. She drew a breath, steady but trembling at the edges. "I haven't been touched in years," she admitted, the words barely above a whisper. My chest tightened. The confession wasn't meant to be seductive. It was too raw for that, too vulnerable. But it sank into me all the same, and before I could think better of it, I found myself answering, low, certain, like the words had been waiting. "Then let me remind you how it feels." Her eyes widened, not in offense, but in something closer to shock. For a long second, she didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, just as the silence threatened to break, the sound of a door unlocking echoed from down the hall. We both froze, the moment shattering, suspended in the golden light. The door down the hall clicked shut again, the sound of footsteps fading until the house was quiet. She exhaled slowly, shoulders lowering, but her eyes didn't quite meet mine. "False alarm," she murmured, brushing a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Her hand lingered there longer than necessary, as if she needed something to do with it. I laughed softly, though it came out uneven. "Guess I scared you more than the door did." That earned me the smallest smile, quick but genuine. "You shouldn't say things like that," she replied, not unkindly. "Why not?" Her gaze drifted past me, unfocused, like she was speaking more to herself than to me. "Because it's not simple." She didn't have to explain. The reasons hung unspoken between us, the years between our ages, the fact that her son was my closest friend, the way people would talk if they ever found out. All of it pressed in on the room, but instead of pushing me away, it drew me closer. I shifted on the couch, trying to look casual while fighting the pull in my chest. She caught the movement, her lips parting as if she might say something else, but she stopped. Silence again. A silence that felt like it was holding its breath. "You've been married before," I said quietly, not really asking, more like recalling something my friend had once mentioned in passing. She nodded, eyes fixed on the glass in her hand. "A long time ago. It ended badly." Her voice thinned at the edges softer. "After that, I told myself it was easier not to let anyone close. Safer." Her thumb traced the rim of the glass, circling slowly, as though the motion steadied her. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, and before I knew it, the words were out. "But safer doesn't mean happier." Her head tilted, and her eyes found mine again. The look in them wasn't angry. It was tired, but searching, like she wanted to argue and couldn't. "Maybe not," she admitted. The lamp's warm glow softened the lines of her face. There was no hiding the years she carried, the small traces of time around her eyes, but they only deepened the pull I felt. I tried not to stare, but every detail insisted itself on me: the faint scent of her perfume, the way her fingers brushed against her wrist when she adjusted her bracelet, the rhythm of her breathing when she sighed. She set her glass down, and as she did, her hand grazed my arm. Not enough to be an accident. Not enough to be deliberate either. I froze, then glanced up. She didn't move her hand away right away. Instead, it lingered, the warmth of her palm seeping through the fabric of my sleeve. A hesitation. A choice she hadn't made yet. Then, just as she began to pull back, I covered her hand with mine. Gently, but firmly enough that she paused. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't withdraw. She let the moment stand, let it breathe. No words. Just the quiet, the hum of electricity in the space between us. And for the first time that night, either of us tried to break it. Her hand was still beneath mine when a vibration cut through the silence. The phone on the coffee table lit up with her son's name across the screen. My chest tightened, and she pulled her hand back as though burned. Neither of us moved at first. The phone buzzed once more, then went still. She reached for it, hesitating, thumb hovering over the screen. But instead of answering, she let it go dark again and set it down. Her exhale was sharp, uneven. "He'll be home soon," she said, but she didn't sound convinced. The room felt smaller. I could hear every sound, the faint tick of the clock, the rustle of her dress as she shifted, the uneven beat of my own heart. I leaned back, trying to slow myself down. "We should, probably not." But my voice trailed off, because she was looking at me again. Not with anger. Not with rejection. With something dangerous, curiosity. She moved to stand, maybe to put distance between us, but I rose at the same time. Too close. Her shoulder brushed mine, light but searing, and neither of us stepped back. Her breath caught, almost imperceptible. I swallowed hard. "This is wrong," she finished for me, but the word trembled. Still, she didn't move away. We stood in the narrow space between the couch and the table, the lamplight casting our shadows together on the wall. My hand twitched at my side, wanting to reach for her, but I forced it still. Her eyes darted down, at my mouth, just for a second, before snapping back up to mine. The silence was unbearable. I filled it, but barely. "If it's wrong, why does it feel like this?" Her lips parted, but no answer came. Just the faintest sound of breath, quick and uneven. The phone buzzed again, loud this time. She jumped, breaking eye contact, snatching it up. Her thumb hovered, then swiped the call away without a word. Her hand was shaking when she set the phone back down. I saw it before she tucked it against her side. "I can't," she whispered, but her body betrayed her, still angled toward me, still lingering too close. I leaned in, just enough that I could feel the heat of her breath on my skin. My words came out low, almost unsteady. "Then tell me to stop." She closed her eyes for a beat, but didn't move. For one suspended moment, I thought she might let it happen, that the thin thread holding us back would finally snap. My lips were inches from hers, the taste of her closeness almost there. Then the front door rattled. A key scraped in the lock. We sprang apart, a sharp distance between us now, but the air was still charged, humming with everything that hadn't been said. The door opened down the hall. Footsteps. And though nothing had happened, I knew, without doubt, we were already past the point of return. The footsteps faded down the hall, a door shutting behind them. Her son's room. Safe, for now. She stood frozen in the living room, her hands clasped tightly together, as if holding herself still. I could see it in her eyes, the battle she was fighting, the need to pull away, the pull to stay. I stepped closer slowly, giving her room to retreat. She didn't. "You're shaking," I said softly. She gave a short laugh, breathless. "You shouldn't notice things like that." "I can't help it." Her gaze flicked toward me, sharp, searching, as though weighing if I meant more than I said. Then she exhaled, almost angry with herself. "This is dangerous. He's in the next room, for God's sake. Then tell me to leave." She didn't. Instead, she pressed a hand to her forehead, muttering, "You're just a boy. You don't know what you're doing." That word, boy, ignited something in me. I moved closer still, closing the space between us until I could feel the faint heat of her body. "I'm not a boy. Not with you." Her lips parted, a sound caught in her throat. She swayed, just slightly, toward me. My hand lifted before I thought better of it, brushing a lock of hair away from her face. My fingers grazed her temple, lingering a second too long. She shivered. "I shouldn't let you," she whispered. "But you haven't stopped me yet." Her eyes locked on mine, wide and conflicted. And then, like a dam breaking, the words spilled out of her. "Do you have any idea how long it's been? Years of pretending I don't miss this, don't need this." Her voice cracked. "And then you." She broke off, catching her breath, trembling. I leaned in, my lips near her ear. "Say it." Her breath itched, warm against my cheek. She turned just slightly, enough that her mouth was a breath from mine. "You make me remember," she said, the confession raw, shaking. Her hand came to rest on my chest, not pushing me away, not pulling me closer either. Just feeling the rapid beat of my heart beneath her palm. The room was too quiet, too small. My pulse thundered in my ears. My hand slid down her arm, fingers threading lightly over her wrist. She didn't pull away. For one suspended instant, the world shrank to nothing but her, the faint perfume clinging to her skin, the quick rhythm of her breathing, the sharp, undeniable electricity pulling us together. I leaned closer, our lips barely a whisper apart, her breath mixing with mine. And then, from the hall, his voice called, "Mom? You still up?" She gasped, stepping back as if waking from a spell. I froze, the moment hanging like a hell breathed between us. The doorframe loomed in shadow. Another second, and he'd walk in. We were caught on the edge of something we could never undo. Her son's voice carried down the hallway, muffled by his half-closed door. A drawer opened, then shut. The faint thump of music followed, leaking through the wall. We stood in the living room, still locked in the invisible current of what almost happened. She pressed a hand against her chest, as if to steady her heartbeat, and finally whispered, "That was too close." I stepped back, giving her space, though every muscle in me resisted. "It's not the first time we've been too close." She flinched at the truth in my words. "And it can't happen again." But her voice cracked, betraying her. I almost argued, but then, her phone buzzed again on the table. She glanced at it and froze. Not her son this time. A different name flashed across the screen. I didn't mean to look, but I saw it before she turned the phone over. Daniel. Her ex-husband. Her hands trembled as she picked it up, staring at the screen without answering. "You still talk to him?" I asked quietly. She exhaled, sharp, defensive. "He doesn't stop calling. Especially lately." She looked up at me, eyes dark, conflicted. "He thinks I'll go back. That I'm waiting." The words landed heavy, pressing down between us. For a moment I felt foolish, like maybe I was just filling empty space in her life, a distraction until she decided what she really wanted. I turned away, jaw tight, but she must have seen the shift in me. Her voice softened. I haven't told anyone this, not even my son. Daniel's been coming around again. Calling. Leaving notes. Her hand trembled as she set the phone back down. I didn't want to believe it mattered. I didn't want anyone to know I was weak enough to answer. I faced her, my chest tightening. Is that what I am to you? A mistake you'll hide until he comes back? Her breath caught. She stepped toward me, too close again, her hand brushing mine as if by accident, though it lingered longer than it should. No, she whispered, fierce now, shaking her head. You're the first thing in years that doesn't feel like regret. Her confession broke the air open. My throat tightened, my hand catching hers before she could retreat again. She didn't fight it. She let me hold her, her body swaying just slightly into mine, as though the weight of what she'd said left her nowhere else to go. Silence stretched, thick, alive, unsteady. My thumb brushed across her knuckles, and her breath hitched audibly. She tilted her head, leaning closer, her forehead almost touching mine. But if this keeps going, she swallowed, voice faltering. There's no undoing it. I leaned in, my voice barely above a whisper. Then maybe we stop pretending we want to. Her lips parted, the air between us charged, trembling. And for the first time, she didn't step back. The house had gone quiet again, her son's music muffled by the walls. The only light came from the lamp, throwing our shadows across the room, two shapes drawn closer than they should be, yet unable to move apart. Her hand was still in mine, trembling faintly, though she didn't pull away. You know we can't, she whispered, eyes locked on the floor. I stepped closer, forcing her to look at me. Then let me go. Her eyes flicked up, startled. Tell me this doesn't matter, I said, my voice low, raw. Tell me I'm just some stupid kid with a crush, and I'll walk away. Right now. The silence stretched, heavy. She opened her mouth once, closed it again. Finally, her voice broke through, softer than a breath. I can't say that. I felt the air shift, the room closing in. My hand lifted, hesitant, brushing the side of her face. She didn't flinch. Her skin was warm beneath my fingertips, her breath catching as I tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. You should stop me, I murmured. I know. But she leaned into my touch, her forehead tilting toward mine. Her body trembled, caught between retreat and surrender. Every inch of space between us felt unbearable. I could hear the faint hitch of her breath, feel the heat radiating from her skin. My pulse hammered, every nerve alive with the nearness of her. This is wrong, she said again, though her voice shook. Then why are you still here? I whispered back. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she swayed forward, so subtle I almost thought I imagined it. I closed the last inch between us, not quite a kiss, not yet. Just the brush of her breath on my mouth, the weight of everything we'd both been holding back. Her hands lifted, uncertain, hovering at my chest before finally pressing flat against me. Not pushing me away, just there. Feeling the thundering of my heart. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice cracking. So am I. My thumb traced her cheekbone, soft, trembling. But I don't care anymore. Something shifted then, fragile but undeniable. Her eyes closed, her shoulders dropping as if she finally let go of the fight she'd been waging with herself. And in that surrender, the space between us disappeared. Her forehead rested against mine, breaths mingling, our lips brushing but not yet sealing the distance. It wasn't about the kiss, it was about the decision, the choice either of us could take back. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady, certain. I don't want safe anymore. And just like that I understood, we weren't stepping away. Whatever this was, messy and dangerous and impossible, we were in it. Together. The silence after her words stretched, but it no longer felt dangerous. It felt like release. She hadn't moved from me, her forehead still leaning softly against mine. My hand stayed at her cheek, hers against my chest, as if letting go now would undo everything we'd fought against tonight. Her breath steadied, and when her eyes opened, I saw no hesitation in them, only a tired kind of relief. We can't change who we are, she whispered. Or the years between us. Or what people would say. I know. I swallowed hard, pressing my forehead to hers more firmly. But none of that feels bigger than this. Her lips trembled, curving into the faintest smile. She shook her head, almost laughing at herself. God, I've been so afraid. Of making another mistake. Of wanting the wrong thing. You don't feel wrong to me. Her hand tightened against my shirt, pulling me just slightly closer. It wasn't bold. It wasn't reckless. It was human, trembling, and true. I wrapped my arm around her, holding her, as though we'd both been waiting years for the permission to. She sank into me, her head resting against my shoulder, her body softening as though she could finally stop bracing for impact. The room was quiet except for the sound of our breathing. The lamp's glow painted everything in warm light, blurring the edges of the world beyond us. For the first time, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt like home. Her fingers slid down, brushing against mine until they intertwined. That small, deliberate gesture undid me more than any kiss could have. I lifted her hand, pressing it gently to my lips before lowering it back between us. She closed her eyes, a soft sound escaping her throat, half a laugh, half a sigh. This won't be easy, she said finally, her voice low but steady. No, I admitted. But it'll be real. She leaned back just enough to meet my gaze. Her eyes searched mine, as though needing to see it there, undeniable. And when she did, she nodded, her thumb brushing against my knuckle. We didn't need more words. Not yet. Just the closeness, the warmth, the weight of finally knowing neither of us would walk away. I pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, lingering there, breathing her in. She exhaled against my chest, her whole body relaxing into the embrace. For the first time, either of us looked for a way out. We'd chosen each other.